Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa, and we are continuing the Dream Pack review with part 3, and it's an all-German lineup this week with the Mercedes 190e DTM, the Sauber Mercedes C9 and the BMW M235 Racing. We're going to start with the Mercedes 190e DTM as we finished the last episode with its competitor, the Alfa Romeo 155 Ti V6.
So it's quite a Sunday day today. Shall we just talk about the specs of this first car?
I think we'll talk about the specs and let's compare it with
the Alfa Romeo Ti, yeah. So this one is featuring a 4-cylinder dual overhead cam, 6-speed manual, double clutch carbon fibre clutch.
Double clutch? It's a double clutch.
Did I say double clutch?
Yeah, I don't know what a clutch is.
Okay, sorry, it's a double clutch. But yeah, I was surprised about this. It's a carbon fibre clutch.
That must have made it quite susceptible to braking if you put a bit of abuse on it. Because obviously carbon fibre, not exactly the strongest material, very flexible, not that strong. It also has a 370 plus brake horsepower. I believe we rated it at 380, and all that comes around about 9,500 RPM, which is around the top of its rev range. Checking this, I think I managed to rev it up 9,750 or 9,800, and that was the top. And as well as that, we've got 310 Newton meters of torque, and that's comes out around approximately 7,300 RPM, somewhere around there. So obviously, it's a car that's designed to stay in high rev ranges. You don't want to let the car go into the low rev range because you're not going to get that much power out of it.
Exactly.
Try and keep it as high as possible. And unlike the Alfa, how much was the Alfa again?
It weighs 1,100 kg.
That was the Alfa, and it's still quite light. This was 980 kilograms.
So this one's 120 kgs lighter than the Alfa.
However, this had 380 bhp. The Alfa Romeo had 420 bhp. But this had more torque. This has 310 newton meters of torque. The Alfa had 294. I think I have a reason why the Alfa was heavier. It's a four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drives. That's going to account for the extra weight. You know, the odd 50 to 100 kilos. You're going to get the extra weight on that.
Yeah, exactly.
This car, obviously, before the Alfa Romeo was on the scene in DTM. So this in 1992, this car actually won the DTM championship, and I think the driver's name was Klaus Ludwig. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at German, but I believe that's how it's pronounced.
I think so, yeah.
And obviously then Alfa Romeo came on and...
In 1993, was it?
Yeah, 1993, and absolutely demolished Mercedes. 93, I think they demolished him in 94 as well. 95, 96, Mercedes sort of clawed it back.
And then they replaced the Mercedes E-Class with the C-Class in racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the C-Class now, and that actually goes to this day. I mean, if you look at the DTM racing today, it's still using the Mercedes C-Class. They don't use the E-Class anymore. Obviously, that must have been because the E-Class was getting quite big.
Yeah.
They were making that a bigger car. The C-Class was coming in more onto this size.
I think it was more of a sports model. It was a smaller
version. It was more
so.
compact, and until then, the E-Class had been compact.
Yeah.
If you look at the E-Class now, it's quite a big car.
It's a really big, luxurious car.
I can't see that being a race car, really. So I think they made a good choice in replacing it with the C-Class.
Yeah.
But until then, this was obviously the Evo II version, so it had a number of upgrades. They had an AMG upgrade for it as well, and then on top of that, obviously the race teams thought, well, hold on, let's throw even more into this.
Yeah.
The Evo II version normally had, 270 brake horsepower? They upped it by a whole 100.
Yeah.
They'd actually put a whole 100 in this, so good car. It is a good car, and obviously we've got this car in-game. We've got the Alfa Romeo, which we reviewed last week in-game, and we've got the Sierra Cosworth, which is again that same level.
Yeah.
Sierra Cosworth Group A, Sierra Cosworth DTM. It's that level. So we've got three cars of approximately the same. In fact, they are the same era, 1993 to 1995.
Yeah, we'll just say the 90s.
It's the early 90s, and so we've actually got three cars that we can genuinely race against each other.
The funny thing is, obviously, this I think this model is a 1993 model, and so was the Alfa Romeo 155 Ti. That was
and I think the Sierra is also a 1993 model.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be quite fun.
The thing is, I can just see, just looking at the specs, the Alfa and the Mercedes were...
There's another car as well. Go on, finish saying what you're saying about the Alfa and the Mercedes.
The Alfa and the Mercedes they look pretty much very identical, and you can see why there's competition between the two.
Yeah, there was the third one was the Sierra. There's a fourth one. That's another official car, the BMW M3 DTM.
Oh yeah.
So there's 4 cars that we can actually pit
Was that
against
the
each other.
E90? Or?
Is it E90? I can't remember what they were. I can't remember what
But
they
you
were.
know, it's a 2-cycles, the old
Yeah.
Formula One.
I think it is the E90. But so that's 4 cars that actually we can pit against each other, all similar size, all in the same race category.
6 cylinders, all of them.
No, this one's 4-cylinder. This is a 4-cylinder car.
We had a debate before about the Cosworth being a 4-cylinder.
The Cosworth, I believe, is a V6.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Cosworth is a V6. This is a 4-cylinder. The BMW 3 Series was a V6 as well, wasn't it? And the Alfa Romeo is a V6. Of all of them, the Alfa is the highest revving. This one is pretty high on the
It's
revs.
still high, but not as high as that.
And I think the BMW and Sierra were around maybe 1,000 RPM below this,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. But generally, I have to admit, taking this car out, it's a good car.
Definitely.
It is a good car. The brakes are very sharp.
Yeah.
The bias is favoured towards the rear,
Yeah.
so we are you know, we do have a tendency to understeer just a little bit, right? And did I say understeer?
Yeah, you said
I
understeer.
did not mean that.
You meant
I just realised what I said. It caused it to oversteer slightly. It's nothing too major, but it is quite fun. And obviously, the car is actually designed in the way it's designed, rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It's also designed. You know, you get that inherent oversteering.
I think it works very well. Yeah.
I think it works very well. The car's a little unpredictable at times, I have to admit, but the throttle response is really good. I did enjoy the handling of the car. You know, the oversteer was quite well balanced.
Yeah.
It was oversteery, but the car was balanced. It's sort of on that fine edge.
Yeah.
You know, where you're sitting there and you think, okay, I know that if I start steering a little bit more, I'm going to get a bit of oversteer.
Yeah.
But you could judge it.
Exactly.
So-
It's just not too predictable, isn't it?
It's not too predictable, but it had
you
that
know
level
where
of
its limits are,
predictability.
yeah.
You could tell where the limits are. Here, I was trying to get it just to slightly oversteer, but I couldn't manage it this time. I think
No.
somewhere on this lap, I did manage to get it to do that.
Yeah. Now about the curbs with the Alfa Romeo, you said keep it off the curbs.
Yeah.
How was this car in comparison? Was it
I think
similar?
this car was a bit better. I think it was a bit better on the curbs. But again, like I said, I didn't enjoy the Alfa Romeo that much.
Yeah.
While this car, I enjoyed more. I mean, still not like, wow, oh, I want to drive this car
Yeah.
loads and loads of times. Still more like, yeah, it's a fun car, not something again, it's to do with racing, isn't it?
It's missing that soul again.
It's got a bit.
Slightly.
I think what it is obviously if it was in a race, I think it'd be much more intense. Because you can think this car with this loud noise, look, it sounds really great.
Yeah.
We can agree with that. It sounds really great. Imagine having an Alfa on one side, a BMW behind you, a Sierra Cosworth on another side. You'd have quite a lot of excitement there.
All
adrenaline.
legendary cars, yeah.
So with that, I can see why you'd use this car. But it does handle the curbs a little better than the Alfa Romeo. One, I think, niggle, one problem I have, something I don't like, is the fact that I couldn't feel it much on the force feedback.
Now why is that?
I don't know. It just felt the steering wheel felt a little bit light. There you go, I slid it. And I knew I'd get a bit of a sliding, but the steering wheel just felt a little bit light. And when I was going on the curbs, I couldn't feel the rumble or it trying to push me off. I mean, I felt it when I was off on the side. You'd feel the wheel shake.
Yeah.
That much you feel, but I didn't feel it trying to shove me off the curb, which I felt in some of the other cars. Now,
Okay.
I don't know whether that's because it handles the curbs much better, or just simply because the force feedback felt weak on this. I think it was generally because the force feedback felt a little bit weak. And we don't have much of this lap to go. I mean, overall, what do you think? What would you say on this car as an overall thing?
As an overall, I mean, we've compared it to the Alfa Romeo. I think this one is probably slightly more fun to drive.
I
than
think
the
so.
Alfa.
Yeah, I think there's
It
more of
has-
a fun factor.
It has more character than the Alfa, isn't it? If we're going to give it a grade, I would probably give it a B minus.
Yeah, I think I'd give it something
In
similar.
that
I mean,
category.
the Alpha I gave a C, so I'd give this a B. It's a nice car.
Yeah.
It's a nice car, and it's very well represented by Kunos. I do like the interior detailing, exterior detailing, it's all there quite nicely.
Yeah.
The physics are very good. Force feedback let me down.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the force feedback let me down as we're going through the final corner. Well, it's the final corner if we were on the tourist track, but
Yeah.
it's the final corner as we're coming up to the long straight. As we are on the endurance track, we're going to have to actually blast through this straight at as the highest speed we can.
Yeah.
I don't know. The car itself it's good. It's a good car. Kunos have done a really good job in detailing the car and the physics, the suspension dynamics, and all that. It's really nice. I think what lets this one down is the force feedback. So if Kunos could improve on the force feedback, perhaps, maybe I'd say that I would enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what lets it down. I think I just kept my foot hard down here. I wanted to see how long I could actually do that before I dared chicken out.
I think this is where I told you to test its rev limit as well.
You wanted me to test the rev limit to see what was going on.
Yeah.
So here we go. We're coming up a final corner, and then we'll just pull back into the pits. This was an installation lap of sorts.
So last week you decided to take it into the bus stop and park your car there.
Yeah, this time I'm taking it onto the endurance pits. It's a race car. I mean,
this is where it's supposed to be.
This is exactly where it's supposed to be. So we're on the limiter again, 50 miles an hour. Like we said, B. We said B minus.
B minus.
I think that's a fair score. We'll just pull up again at the end of this pit lane. Just switch off the lights, and we'll switch to the Sauber Mercedes C9. We'll see you in a few seconds. Okay, what did I say not to do in the Dream Pack review?
I believe last time you said don't race in the fog, in thick fog that is anyways, with the Sauber C9. So what
on
did
the
you...
Nordschleife
and what did you
in
do?
early morning.
You did exactly what you said not
So
to
I've done
do.
exactly what I said not to do. I thought this would be quite funny, because I did it once and it was horrific.
It's like telling someone don't press the red button, but you did it.
Yeah, you said that in the Dream Pack that other people are going to do this. Well, guess what? I beat them. I did it myself. I said not to do something, and then I went right ahead and did it.
And surprising, you did not crash, as you'll see further on in this
That
lap.
is a surprise. I was expecting to have completely, totaled this car, because, well, if you can see here,
You can't even see the corners of this track.
I think we've never shown the fog.
I don't think we have, no.
Well, here we go. This is heavy fog in Assetto Corsa.
This is an official...
This is the official fog, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a mod that gives us even heavier fog than this.
Oh.
I have to try that at some point.
Now, unless you don't really know the track as well, I highly recommend you do not try this, unless you're as experienced as yourself.
Yeah, it's 11 years on this track.
But even then, I could still see that you were still... Yeah.
Right, let's go on to this, because obviously this is going to be kind of a fast lap because it's a much faster car.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just jump straight into the specifications.
Now, this is the engine that we used in the Dream Pack intro, the one that sounded amazing.
Yeah, this is before, as the music started, I believe.
Yeah.
It started kicking in, and we had this engine, yeah.
And the reason why is because it features a V8 engine, producing 720 horsepower at 7,000 RPM.
Interestingly, though, the torque is 810 newton meters of torque, which is incredibly high. But that's only produced at 3,500 RPM. So it kind of shows the kind of racing this car is, what could you say, it's designed for.
To take corners at very high speeds, I guess.
It's designed to take corners, well, I think it's designed to take slow corners at very, very high levels of torque. So as you come out the corner,
you build up speed very fast.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look here, look how low I'm actually revving the car. I'm in that range of the torque, 3,500. Come out the corner, I can just blast it out the corner with 810 newton meters of torque.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's good. It's good on that. How much does it weigh? 905?
Yeah, that's a really light car.
It reminds me of the 787B, but this is actually a few years before the 787.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you were saying Michael Schumacher had raced this version, but
it wasn't this one, it was the C11.
Yes,
C11, which obviously replaced this, and that's what went up against the 787B. So this car's from 1987, somewhere around that area.
The late 1980s.
Yeah, so this is the late 1980s. Obviously the 787B and the C11 and things like that are the early 90s, early to mid 90s. But this car, obviously, very, very, very well known car. It's got a Sauber name, Peter Sauber.
Yep.
Teamed up with Mercedes to develop this car, which is really, really nice. Rear wheel drive, as Group C cars, as you'd expect. And you can feel it.
Yeah.
And it's a 5-speed manual gearbox.
So you reached its top speed.
I did
with this current setup, yeah.
195 miles an hour, I believe, was the top speed. Something like that. I'll get onto it on the back straight.
You'll see.
With the speed that this car's going at, we'll be at the back straight before you know it.
Yeah.
Ventilated disc brakes. I must say that the brakes were really good.
It favoured towards the back, isn't it? The brake bias.
It favours towards the back. You can't press it too hard. Obviously, there's no ABS or anything, so you can't press it too hard. when you're hitting the brakes, do be careful. Don't feather them. You can get into them, but not as crazy as you'd think.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to be a little bit more careful on that. What else is there about this car that we think? Only 6 of them were built.
Yeah, and it features a light alloy monocoque chassis.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't there another car that had the same chassis or similar one?
A similar kind is a carbon fiber reinforced polymer monocoque, which was the McLaren F1 GTO, which is about 5 years after this.
Okay.
What am I going to say about the car? Interior, exterior, again, I think you can see. Right,
you can just see it's a fully built race car. That's all it is there for, yeah.
Kunos have done a good job, modelling it quite accurately.
I'm just curious to see what is that thing near the red light. You can see on the left.
You mean the green? But I don't know exactly what you're looking at. Oh, you mean that looks like a setting. Sorry, he's just actually pointed out at the screen right now. We're actually looking just above the lap time as I slide and almost crash it. I did almost.
That's the
crash
part
it.
I jinxed you nearly.
Yeah. You can see over there is a setting. I believe those are race settings.
Okay.
So different fuel mixtures, stuff like that. Obviously, it's a race car. It's going to have all of those. And I think only 6 of these cars were built.
So that's very less.
Yeah, only 6. Observations. I'm going to say observations on it. The force feedback feels a little off. I'm going to say the problem with this car was I felt that the steering wheel was incredibly light, and I wasn't really keen on that. So as I was turning in and going into a corner, I started feeling, I don't know an easy way to describe it. It felt as if the steering wasn't really connected to the car.
Okay.
I wanted to feel a heavy steering wheel, something where I had confidence that this car had downforce.
So the steering felt light, but the car
was heavy. You could tell the car was heavy because of the way it was taking corners, but the steering wheel didn't accurately represent that.
So it was too light for your liking.
It was too light for my liking. I think it needs a heavier steering wheel.
Yeah.
Something where you'll have that confidence knowing, okay, I'm driving a car at high speeds with lots of downforce.
Yeah.
It's going to feel heavy. So that's one thing. As the same thing that I said with the 787B some weeks ago now, 6 or 7 weeks ago, don't take it into first gear.
It's just got too much torque.
It's just too much power for first gear. You don't want first gear. So I did take it into first gear where I slid.
Yeah.
And that's where I realised, this is another car you can't do that in. It's very fast. This car is very fast. Yeah. And since we did use it in the opening for the Dream Pack in part 1, it sounds really good.
It sounds amazing.
It does. Some more advice on it is you want to keep it off high curbs. I think you can ride the low curbs decently well, but don't hit the high curbs because obviously this is a very low car.
Yeah.
You don't want, the last thing you want is it to scrape. You did feel it bounce off. Unlike the previous car, the Mercedes 190e, you did feel this car sort of, the force feedback did push you off. So that's something good. But again, the fact that it was light, I don't know, it kind of made it harder to drive. You couldn't predict what the car was going to do out of the corner. Not so much. There was still some prediction. I'm not going to say that there was no feeling at all. There was a fair amount of feeling, but just not enough.
So obviously it's a rear-wheel drive. How was the handling?
Handling's surprisingly good. Surprisingly good. Apart from the fact that obviously I'm complaining about the force feedback. The wheel feels light. The handling on the car was surprisingly good. When you put your foot down, you did start getting that whole torque steer effect. So you had to be careful of that. First gear, second gear, even third gear, you'd get that.
And when you're braking, obviously, did you get any trail braking or anything?
I did have a little bit of trail braking, but again, it handles the brakes very well.
Yeah.
What I would do is I'd probably adjust the brake bias just very slightly forward, a couple of percent, no more than that. But it did handle the brakes very well. Of course, I wasn't pushing incredibly hard simply because I couldn't see. As much as I know the track by heart, you can see out the window here.
You say you weren't pushing it, but you can clearly see in the replays that it looks like you're pushing it.
It looks like I'm pushing it, but I can guarantee I could have taken another 20-30 seconds off that time.
But you were
pretty sure of that.
I think you wanted to play it safe because of the thick part.
Not only that, we're trying to show a professional video. Last thing I want is me crashing all over the place.
Exactly.
Crash and burn. It's not exactly giving people a sense of these guys know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They can't even drive a car.
Exactly.
But it's very good. Heel and toe for this car again is a must. You have to know how to heel and toe. Blipping throttle, if you're going to let off the throttle without braking, you are going to want to blip the throttle as you're coming down through the gears. As we come down the back straight, this is where I got the high speed up.
We'll
But you can see, I can't even see what's ahead of me more than 150 meters.
That's a scary thought. If you don't know this track very well, that is very scary.
What I did do though, I decided I'm going to leave my foot hard down as I came around this corner.
And
normally I lift off just a little bit.
And I think you took this corner well, you said.
Flat out, yeah. Flat out. I just want to see here, and I think I lift up right there, There we go.
Now,
and then I kept that speed. I mean, look, 120 miles an hour, I'm still coming into this lot. That's only because I know the track.
I'm pretty sure in race conditions this would be, you wouldn't be able to try.
We wouldn't be. This would be red flagged. Anyway, let's pretend it has been red flagged because we're just about to pull into the pits. So I think overall this car's nice. I'm going to give this car an A. I'm going to give it an A.
Okay.
Force feedback is the problem, but for the car, in terms of drivability, I really do like it.
So that's for both cars you give an A?
No, I give the first car a B.
Alright, B. Okay, I think an A would be suitable for this car as well.
Yep, and I think we'll just pull it up again. Strange, I seem to be the only one on the track. The other drivers must have gone home. Oops, bit of locking the gears, locking the wheels. Right, we'll switch over to the last car, which is the BMW 235.
I.
Why did you even say I like that? Okay, I forgot the I, but okay, that was just odd. First thing I'm going to say about this car before we even get out, I really like the display. The HUD and the steering wheel. I'm just going to say that.
It's a funny thing you mentioned that because I don't know what was in me, but a friend of mine, he has a BMW and he said this thing was really nice. I wonder how much it cost. So did a bit of research and it turned out to be 800 to 900 pounds
for the wheel
just
itself,
for the steering wheel itself.
Just to have that kind of display on the steering wheel.
That is crazy.
So if any one of you has a BMW, I'm presuming it's got to be about 10 years old at most.
Yeah.
And you want to have that kind of steering wheel with the rev lights, the LED rev lights, and I believe that's a lap timer.
Yeah.
Although I don't know how the lap timer would work. I mean, what are you going to do? Time yourself going around the block or something?
Exactly.
Time yourself. I know what it is. It's the time you can time yourself going to Asda and back.
Oh,
that's what
right.
It is.
That's
you
fantastic.
time yourself going to Asda and back. That way you can say, yeah, okay, this was a 1 hour trip. I can shave 3.4 seconds off this. But no, in all seriousness, the first thing that struck me about this car was that display, both on the wheel and the actual speedometer, rev. What do you call them? Odometer? I forgot what they call them. Tachometer, maybe.
Yeah.
That really struck me, and I quite like that. But we'll talk about that in a little while. Straight off, let's go back into the specs.
So it's a typical straight six twin turbo. Well, not twin turbo. BM's normally a 6-cylinder anyways, but this one features a twin turbo engine. It's a 3 litre and it produces 450 newton meters of torque. I'm not sure what RPM that comes in. Maybe we can post it or something.
Yeah,
you guys
search
should tell us. But
I actually don't know the power of this car either. I've forgotten to check up the power, but it feels to me.
I think it was 330 brake horse.
I was going to say it felt like about 350 to 400 brake horsepower. That's what it felt like to me. It's not incredibly fast. It's not an incredibly fast thing, but it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it is pretty good. The important thing about this that we've got to really mention is it's a paddle shift. Unlike the first two that we did, this is a paddle shift. Obviously, it's much newer. In fact, this is a 2014 car, if I remember correctly.
I've only seen a few T-Bonus on the streets of the 2 Series, so it's a really new car.
And it's 7 gears. Which,
here's the thing: did you really use the 7th gear?
I tried. I would say my advice is don't bother with 7th gear. It's a very cruising gear. 6 is all you need. You don't need 7.
I was going to say I don't really think this car needs it, but I guess do the street versions have 7? So maybe that's probably why.
And I believe what they've done on this car, amongst some changes, they've put racing exhaust and racing catalytic converter. That's where we get the really nice noise from.
Yeah.
And it's got M Performance LSD.
Yeah, that's correct.
And what's with the brakes? Because I really like the brakes.
It's a 4-part fixed caliper at the front and a 2-part braking system at the back.
Right, so okay, the front brakes are better than the rear. That probably explains why it felt a lot more stable under the brakes. Because obviously it is a rear-wheel drive. You would have expected a bit more rear bias on it. Visuals, exterior, interior. We did mention the steering wheel and that. Let's just quickly go over the rest of it. I think this is possibly, out of the Dream Pack, I think this may be the most detailed car they've done.
I agree. Definitely.
It's really, really highly detailed. Again, the skins that they have on the car, so the liveries, the textures, not the top standard for the exterior.
Yeah.
There's still a bit of blurring, but obviously you can download mods that are going to have 4K resolutions or whatever, really, really good. But in terms of modelling, I think this is the most accurate one they've got.
I was just going to say that I think it's one of the best BMWs they've made in this game so far. Probably in the whole pack, I think this is one of the best.
It is, I think, it is the best in details. I like the whole fact of the roll cage sticking out right there on the side. It's got good texturing in terms of quality as well. You can see the reflections.
You can see the carbon fibre on the dash.
The reflections, the carbon fibre, the texturing, the bump mapping's very well done on the steering wheel. You can tell the actual material.
Yeah.
You can actually see. So I'm quite impressed with that.
And I believe the paddle shifters are metal. They have that look to it.
I'm very impressed with what they've done with this car. What else about this car's thing? In terms of observations, we've said we like how it looks and it's it's very nice on handling, very nice. You know when I was talking about avoid curbs and things like that, with this one you can be a little more risky with curbs.
Okay.
It does handle the curbs pretty well. Not obviously don't plow into any curb left, right and centre, but it does handle them pretty well. Like you see that one that I just hit the bumps over. That one obviously I just hit the apex, but the one before that I just let the bump let it ride the bump.
Now, obviously, being a modern car, it does feature quite a bit of electronics. Yeah. So I challenge you to obviously try and drift the car or do something fun or challenging.
Now I'm doing this with factory traction control and ABS on. I'm just leaving everything factory. If I was racing this normally, I normally tend to switch them off. I don't. ABS, okay, I can see why I'd leave ABS on.
But TLC, seriously,
I'd switch the TCS off. It's just, I noticed you call it TRC.
What's it supposed to be called?
I call it TCS. It depends. I don't know. I call it traction control system. You call it TRC, traction control.
Maybe you're right. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe different companies call it in different ways.
I think in the cars they probably have, because some say TSC. I don't know.
I think I've seen TCS. I've seen traction control system on it. Yeah. Anyway, going off on a tangent here. So you challenged me to try and actually get a bit of a slide going on this car, even with the traction control engaged. And I will say it's not hard to do.
Okay.
It's very easy to get that tail to kick out, but the important part here is it's controlled. It's very, very controlled, and I thought that was really impressive because it allows me to have fun in a car without being at that risk of, if it goes slightly wrong, you're gonna crash.
So it's not one of those BMWs that you can't tame. This one's really tame. You control the car.
I mean, remember I said in one of the earlier, when we tried out those career mode episodes, I said that I didn't like the M3.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I don't like the M3, but I like this.
This is really nice.
I do like this car. It's much more fun than the M3, and it definitely feels like a race car.
And it feels predictable, isn't it?
It's predictable, and it's not predictable in a sense that it's so boring.
Yeah.
It's predictable in a sense that if I throw it into this corner, it's going to stick.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't stick, I'm going to be able to hold it. And I think that's partly due to the fact that it's got good force feedback. It does have really, really good force feedback, unlike the other two cars that we've reviewed this episode.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me say that this car is the best out of those three. And in fact, it's not the most fun car. Obviously, that still goes to the Alfa Romeo GTA.
Yeah.
But it is a fun car.
It's still a fun car to drive. But I think there was a slight issue with, you said that it's hard to get the tyres heated up.
Yeah, I did. Well, actually, you can see in the internal views, I'm not getting the tyres very hot. In fact, I think this is where I slid it. No, this is
no.
I know I slide it somewhere around here, but yes, it's getting the tyres to heat up is not that good. Here we go. There we go.
I thought it was you could see it trying to.
Very easy to get the tail to kick out. It's not a difficult thing. Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to do it. Getting the tyres to heat up is not an easy task in this car, and I think if I managed to get the tyres to heat up more, I think it would have been much more fun. Maybe I just need to go faster.
I mean, you can see in the graph there, all the tyres are yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't they be like a orangey colour by now?
Yep. And over there, basically, I tried to get that jump on the turn before, and I got the jump. Unfortunately, my one wheel locked, as I landed, one wheel, I think it was it felt like my left front locked.
It was your
My left front locked, and when it did, I sort of ended up in the gravel. But again, just counter steer, got it off the gravel without crashing. Thoroughly impressed with this car. Again, I'm going to point out, it is a race car, and it's not the most exciting or most fun to drive. But it does put a small smile on your face.
Yeah.
And it's a well-made BMW, and it's very, very accurately represented by Kunos.
Now, being a twin turbo, straight 6-cylinder engine, how was the throttle response on this car?
Good throttle response. Interestingly enough, I didn't feel any turbo lag. So that was a bit odd.
It delivers this car smoothly, I guess.
It's a very smooth power delivery. I guess that's what the new cars are doing, aren't they? They try and get rid of turbo lag.
Yeah, they probably have one turbo for the low end, one turbo for the high end,
or
working with electronics.
Yeah, and they've got electronics just to spool the turbos correctly, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I like cars with a bit more turbo lag.
I think so too. It's just more fun,
Yeah, but as a race car, thumbs up. And I'll just literally put my thumbs up. Thumbs up for this car. Very well made. Well done, Kunos. I like this car. And this car I'm going to give an A. Along with the Saab. In fact, if I give the Saab and Mercedes an A, I'm going to give this an A+. An A star.
Wow.
Right? I'm going to give this an A star. Just because, as a car, it's really nice. It's up there with the McLaren.
Yeah.
It's up there with the McLaren F1. Not as fast, but it's just as fun to drive in a different way.
Okay. I think I'll also give it an A, not an A star, but an A, simply because of the reason I haven't drove this car yet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you try it, you'll see what I mean. It's very nice.
Maybe I'll change my mind.
And we're back into the pits. This time I hit the brakes before I got to the limiter, so I didn't have a bit of brake squealing. But I think that brings us to the end of this episode, and that's the German episode done. Next week we'll review the remaining 3 cars. So please remember to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button if you like this video, and leave a comment in our comments box below telling us what you think of these 3. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.